Recording has begun for this meeting. My name is Kayla Quintana. I'm with the Fairfax County Department of Transportation, and I want to welcome you to this meeting to discuss the proposed service changes slated for October 2022. We want to remind you that this meeting is being recorded and may be posted on the county website and/or YouTube channel. Tonight, once the presentation is completed, we'll begin the question and answer portion, during which participants will ask their questions aloud. The chat feature has been disabled for this meeting, so we will not be taking written questions. We also encourage you to submit your comments to today's meeting using the online survey, online feedback form, written feedback, or phone call. Again, we'll have information on the various ways to provide comments at the end of the presentation. I'd now like to welcome Michael Felchow, Chief of Transit Planning at FCDOT. Michael?
Thank you, Kayla. And I just want to thank everyone for coming out this evening and taking time out of their busy day to share a little bit of time with us so that we can provide you some additional information on the proposed service changes that we are looking at for later this year. I first want to introduce my team. I have Kyle Davis, who will be doing most of the work in presenting the information today. I also have in support Hei-Jun Kang, who does a lot of our work for the Title VI analysis and a lot of the scheduling, along with Ed Reed, who is our lead on the scheduling. So at this point, I'd like to hand it off to Kyle, and if you can take it away, I would thank you very much.
All right, everyone. Like Michael said, my name is Kyle Davis. I'm a transportation planner with Fairfax County Department of Transportation, and I'll be delivering tonight's presentation. So, as mentioned, this presentation will cover a slate of proposed service changes, which, if implemented, would take place, or they would be implemented in October of this year. So this is an agenda for tonight. We've already covered the introduction, and we'll get into the overview. Next, we'll go over timeline, route details, where we'll actually discuss the details of each route and each service change for each individual route. Then we'll cover Title VI analysis, and then we'll take some feedback, questions, and discuss next steps. So here's an overview of the service changes. FCDOT proposes the following adjustments for its connector bus services. As I've said before, these changes, if they were to take effect, would take effect in October of this year. They are basically broken into two different categories: service changes and fare changes. So we'll start with the service changes. You've got Route 334, where there's a reduction in service. You have what we are calling the 350s. Essentially, this is a group of routes. You have two existing routes, 350 and 351, which are being split up and broken up into two more routes, the 352 and 353. And so collectively, we're just referring to them as the 350s. And then you've got Route 495, and then the 722. And we'll go into more detail about each of these routes and the respective service changes associated with them. And then we have the fare changes. So the fare changes, with Route 599, Crystal City Pentagon Express, there is a fare reduction. Also system-wide, we are proposing to permanently adopt temporary fare changes. So here's the timeline for this set of service changes. Starting with this past December, running through last month, March, we conducted a service analysis and route development where we really sort of finalized and fleshed out our proposal. Right now, we're in the phase of gathering public input. As you can see down at the bottom, April 2022. Service refinement, that is between now and July, where after we receive feedback on these changes, on these proposed changes, we can make some refinements, make some changes if possible. We are hoping to present this to the board, or at least we're planning to present this to the board, and by board I mean the County Board of Supervisors. We're planning on presenting this in August of this year, and if it is approved by the board, then again we will implement it in October. So now I'll go into more detail and get into the actual service changes. So first of all, before I get into the individual service changes, what are our reasons for these service changes? First of all, we want to reduce inefficiencies in the bus system. We want to make sure that we're actually matching the supply of bus services with the demand. We want to put buses where where there's a demand for people to travel by bus. And that ties into the second point about reallocating resources to where demand is greater. We want to make sure that we're devoting our resources, in the smartest way possible. And we also have schedule changes that are looking. The purpose of the schedule changes, some of them at least, is to improve the reliability of the schedule, improve on-time performance by having a more accurate schedule. So these are the basic reasons why we are engaging in these service changes, or at least these proposed service changes, why we're proposing these changes. So getting into the first of the changes, Route 334, which is an existing route, the proposed change is to reduce this route to morning and evening rush hour service only, plus a single trip during the midday. Going into the next change, again, we have the 350s. So as I explained earlier, the existing route is 350 and 351. And we are proposing to essentially kind of simplify this, even though we're creating two new routes. If you're familiar with this route, you'll understand why this is a simplification. As of today, the 350, depending on what time of day you catch it, it serves a lot of different places within the greater Franconia area around the metro station. We're hoping to streamline and simplify this. The 351 will have a slight expansion in terms of the span of service, in terms of when it operates during the day, but other than that, will remain the same in terms of its routing. And then we'll have 352 and 353, which will cover territory that essentially is covered by the 350 today. So in other words, we're simplifying the 350 while creating two new routes that cover the same ground that the 350 does today, depending on which time of day you were to take the route. So this map just kind of provides an overview. As you can see, it's color-coded by route. The 350, as we're proposing it, would go from Franconia to Springfield Town Center to the Hilton. The 351 would essentially do the same thing that it does today, serving TSA. The 352 would go to Springfield Town Center. The 353 would go to Metro Park. All of these are radiating out from Franconia Metro. So this is just, again, we have what we're calling route profiles, where we have individual pages here that sort of detail each individual route and each individual service change. And so, like I said, the 350, as we're proposing it, would just simply go from Franconia Springfield Metro Rail to Springfield Town Center and the Hilton. And you can see here what service hours we're proposing, what level of service. We're talking about 15 minutes during the peak. And by peak, we simply mean rush hour. During the off-peak, which would be like your midday or outside of rush hour time frame, the service frequency would be about every 15 to 20 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. With the 351, we would be doing the same thing that we do today with the TSA and the NBCC Medical Education Campus. Again, we're slightly expanding the span of service, the time of day that we're going to be offering this route, but other than that, it more or less remains the same. And we're talking about 15 to 20 minute service. With the 352, this is a brand new route. If it were to be implemented, it would be a split from existing Route 350. It would provide non-rush hour or midday service between Franconia Springfield Metro Rail and Springfield Town Center. But as you can see, it would take a different alignment here than what the 350 would do. And finally, we of all the 350s, we have the final route, which is the 353. Again, you know, if you were to take the 350 today, especially during the midday, it does currently go from Franconia Metro to Metro Park. But under this proposal, if you wanted to make that trip, you'd be doing it on this new proposed route, the 353. So again, we're just splitting it from the existing 350. And you're talking about, again, 15 to 20-minute service, depending on time of day. With Route 495, this is an existing route which we are proposing to reduce in terms of service. We would, the proposal calls for a reduction to service during the morning and evening rush hours only with a single midday trip. So kind of a similar deal like what we're proposing with the 334. Again, we're just doing this to, you know, this reflects the demand for the route. And so that is where we have them, that is where we're finding that people generally need this route. So we're proposing a 35-minute frequency on this particular route for this service change. Finally, we have the 722. This is a fairly minor change that we're proposing. This runs between McLean and Langley. We are proposing to adjust run times, and that is kind of transit speak. It simply means that we are adjusting the time between stops. So in order to improve on-time performance, we have to, you know, constantly monitor how long it takes in the real world for a bus to get from point A to point B, from one stop to another, or from one time point to another. Time points simply being your major stops. And so, you know, in doing that and constantly monitoring and refining and tweaking that schedule in that way, we can improve on-time performance. So that's what we're doing here. We're simply adjusting the schedule in terms of the time between the bus stops. So that covers the service changes. Now we're going to get into the fare changes. So the first fare change we're going to talk about is going to be system-wide. WMATA implemented temporary fare changes in September 2021 and recently proposed a permanent adoption of those fare changes for the beginning of fiscal year 2023, which would be July 1st, 2022. Fairfax Connector, we're a close partner of WMATA. We know that a lot of people transfer between our service and WMATA, whether it's WMATA Bus, WMATA Rail. And so we try to make the connection between our two services as seamless as possible. And so in doing that, just like WMATA made changes with their fares, we're also going to shift our fare policy, you know, in accordance with what they're doing. So bus to and from rail transfers, the discount on that is going to go from 50 cents to $2. The 7-day regional bus pass, we're going to reduce the cost of that from $15 to $12. And for the 7-day regional senior disabled bus pass, we're going to reduce that fare from $7.50 to $6. The other fare change that we're proposing is specific for Route 599. What I just discussed before is system-wide, but specifically for Route 599, we have a separate change. If you're not familiar, the 599 is the Pentagon Crystal City Express. It runs from Reston to Crystal City. The standard fare is going to be reduced from $7.50 to $4.25. The senior and disabled rider fare will be $2.10. And this is being funded by an I-66 Commuter Choice Grant, which comes from the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission, or NVTC. Furthermore, eligible low-income riders will have an additional fare reduction of 50%, which is being provided through a TRIP grant, which comes from the Department of Rail and Public Transportation, which comes from the state or Commonwealth level. So we also have what we're, so part of the justification or part of the process that we engage in with these types of changes involves Title VI. And if you're not familiar, Title VI refers to a specific part or specific clause within the Civil Rights Act of 1964. As you can see here, essentially what this says is that no person in the United States shall, on the ground of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Fairfax Connector, we do conform with that policy, with that, and so in doing so, whenever we propose service changes, we undergo what we call a Title VI analysis to examine the impacts on populations that are protected under the law of Title VI under the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So this includes people who identify as an ethnic or racial minority, as well as low-income riders. So this is just kind of an overview of the Title VI process. So with first, we have to examine whether or not something constitutes a major service change. And as you can see there, those are the criteria for what constitutes a major service change. Once we've identified that a change does fall under the category of a major service change, we have to determine if there is what we call a disparate impact or disproportionate burden. We call that DIDB. As you can see here, that's you see what the criteria is for DIDB. And if we have identified a DIDB with a particular proposal, we have to provide a justification in order to move forward with that. And so with the service changes that we are proposing, the only service change that falls under the category of both being a major service change and we did identify a DIDB is the change to the 599. However, our justification for providing this benefit to people who are not low-income riders is that we are also subsidizing low-income ridership through the TRIP grant that I just mentioned. We're also reducing the costs even for the standard fare, which we're hoping that will attract more low-income riders who can use that route and use that system to access, work, education, whatever the case may be. And this is just kind of explaining what I just said as far as, every route having to go through a process of being examined. Is it a major service change? If so, is there a DIDB or disparate impact, disproportionate burden? If so, what justification are we providing? And like I said, the 599 is the only one in which there was a DIDB identified, and our justification is listed here. So this just kind of summarizes what I just said. So moving on to the survey, with the proposed service changes, we would like to hear from you all. We would like to hear, how do you feel about the proposed service changes? What impact, if any, will this have on your mobility around the county and also outside the county? And we also would like to know, who does Fairfax Connector serve? Who do we reach with the survey? And so those are what we call the demographic questions. And so we'd like for you to tell us what you think. The deadline for your comments would be on May 6th. For more information about the October 2022 proposed service changes and to take an online survey, please go to the link listed here. You can also submit your comments via email to Fairfax County at fairfaxconnector@fairfaxcounty.gov. The email address is on the screen. You can also contact us by telephone at the number on the screen, 703-339-7200. Or you can mail your comments to Fairfax County Department of Transportation, CO Transit Planning, October 2022, service changes, 4050 Legato Road, Suite 400, Fairfax, Virginia 22033. And so at this time, I will turn it over to Kayla.
Thanks so much, Kyle, and thanks for the great presentation. Now we'd like to open the meeting up for questions and comments, and here are our instructions to do so. Please raise your hand located at the top of your screen next to the three dots. I will then enable your microphone and call on you to ask your question. Please unmute yourself when your name is called and ask your question or provide your comment. And then we ask that you please mute yourself after you have asked your question. If you're on the phone, press *5 to raise your hand. And when you're called on by your phone number, please press *6 to unmute yourself. And then after you're finished, please push *6 to mute yourself again. I'll be reminding any callers to do that as we go along. Let's see here. Who has their hand raised? I know we must have questions. I know we have a few attendees. Just raise your hand at the top of the screen, and I'll be happy to call on you. Ms. Clark, do you have any questions for us from tags? Oh, there she is. Let me allow you. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and you can ask your question.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
Sorry, we were talking about you earlier and trying to get you to talk, but I guess we were having some technical issues.
Yeah, I don't know what was happening, but I heard you, and thank you for that lovely introduction. So I'm glad to be here tonight. I know that the 350s routes are important to the Greater Springfield community and tags. So from what I can see, I think it's actually an improvement, and will be better in terms of serving both. You know, it's kind of split up between Metro Park and TSA and then the mall. So I see this as a great improvement and appreciate that. So I had hoped that some of the other tags board members would be on tonight, but I think I'll bring this. I wonder if I can get the slides, or is this on the website?
So we'll be posting this information to the website along with the recording of this meeting. So it will be the whole presentation along with the questions and answers that we get this evening. And then, but we could also do a copy of the presentation, or we'll definitely post that to the web as well. So whatever you need.
Yeah, okay. And I know that Michael and I talked about also him coming possibly to the board meeting next time we have, but that's not until June. So I think we need to take the survey and do that.
So maybe perhaps you can reach out to the Springfield Chamber, the Greater Springfield Chamber, and like spread the word. We're trying to do that ourselves, but certainly we'd love to hear from as many people as possible. And the survey's open until May 6th, so we'd love
May 6th. Okay.
You and then maybe also, you know, your partners at TSA and Metro Park. Please definitely reach out to them and let them know. Ask their employees to take the survey so that we can provide the best service possible.
Yeah. Whatever you send or put out, I will forward to them and make sure everybody's aware.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Joan, did you have any other questions, or are you good to go?
No, I think I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, go ahead and mute yourself and lower your hand. And if you need other questions, just ask again. Anybody else? I see a few more people that are attending. What other questions might you have about either some of the fare policy changes, or the permanent change to discounted free transfer from bus to and from Metro Rail? There's an express service fare decrease for the $5.99. What do you care about? What do you want to hear from our expert planners, and what would you like to share with us so that we can take that into account and make the necessary changes to the proposed plan? Just raise your hand at the top of the screen. Just click on that raise the hand button, and we will gladly call on you to ask your question. Kyle, I have one question for you. What of the changes that we're making, what do you think is the most exciting and the most interesting change that we're proposing for October?
I would actually say the 350s, because I do I do think that with the current structure of the 350 and 351, I definitely understand how it can be confusing. So even though these are short routes, the circulators around the local area there in Franconia, I actually think this would be really beneficial just because it may seem counterintuitive because we're actually increasing the number of routes, but we're at the same time that we're increasing the number of routes, we're actually streamlining it. And that's why I say it may seem counterintuitive, but we're actually simplifying it, even though we're adding routes. I can definitely understand why for your average person or even a transit planner like myself, it's a bit confusing trying to understand exactly what the bus might be doing down there. And so I think that the changes that we're proposing will really help make it more user friendly and encourage people to use the service down there.
Great. Thank you so much, Kyle. Any of the other planners want to weigh in? Ed, did you have any thoughts or ideas about what you like about the proposed changes that we have on tap for October?
Yeah, sure. Basically, I think the main advantage of the proposed changes for the Springfield routes is every segment will have its own route number. So there's no longer, can you take if you see something that says 350 when, this goes forward, then everybody will know that goes to Springfield Town Center and the Hilton. If you see a 353, it'll go to Metro Park. If you see a 351 or 352, it'll go to the TSA. So every route segment that we have out there at the moment, most of them are 350, during most of the day. The 351 just turns up at peak times, but everything's going to be its own route number all the time, all day. And it also facilitates the fact that most of the segments are free. The Metro Park, the TSA, it's just a 50-cent fare for the Springfield Hilton segment. So it's going to make life a lot easier for passengers and drivers and avoid confusion. So I think this is why we're doing this, and it should, the fact that it'll be a little bit easier for passengers to understand should hopefully help increase the use of the service going forward.
Yeah, anytime we can make it easier for people to understand how to use the system, and especially as a lot of these federal workers, like for TSA and others over in that area, start to return to work full time, which, I'm hearing in the next few months may be happening. It's going to be an opportunity for them to hopefully learn what options they have and maybe think about taking transit as opposed to paying $4 and plus cents per gallon at the gas pump. So I think that sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, and I was actually just getting ready to say, just to add into that, the $5.99, in an era of, rising sky-high gasoline prices, inflation, the cost of everything's going up. And yet here we are, proposing to, reduce the fare to get into Crystal City.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to give folks one last question. Opportunity to raise a hand. I'm hoping people aren't having difficulty raising their hands. Okay, I'm not seeing anything. So at this time, I think we will draw the meeting to a close. I just want to try one more thing. Sorry. Let me just, I'm just trying to make sure people aren't having any technical difficulties, raising hands and all that good stuff. Okay. All right. Well,
hey, Kayla?
Yes, sir.
This is Mike. I just wanted to put one more pitch out there for everyone to go online, provide us feedback for the online survey. Our team reads every single comment, and we take a look at every comment and we see how we can improve the system based on the comments that we receive and the information that we receive. As we like to say, this is your system, and we like to do it. And we like to make sure that the system provides the service to you. The system is built by you for you. So please give us your input, and we can see how we need to make any modifications for that. So we have the slide up that shows you where you can go online to get onto that survey. In the past few years, we've received over 12,000 comments on all our studies that we've been doing, and we have read every single one of those. So it's very important to us. So if you don't feel comfortable raising your hand here, you can go online. There's a couple of questions on each. Each route has its own question, and there's an open box that you can type in whatever you want, and hopefully you can provide us some additional information. Also, go ahead and tell any coworkers, friends, or family to get online, provide us more information that way. So, but thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to our information, and hopefully we can hear from you again, and we can provide that information to leadership and the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you, Michael. You kind of stole my thunder there.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. We've now come to the end of the meeting, and everything Michael said was what I was going to say. But again, if you didn't get a chance to provide feedback or concerned about raising your hand and providing that feedback to us tonight, we really do encourage you to go to the website, go to email, send us an email, call us at the information on the slide that you see in front of you. You can even send us some snail mail. Like you said, Michael is very lonely when he does not have something to read from our passengers. So don't make him be lonely. Just send him what you're interested in, and they will try to wave their magic wand and make it happen. So we're really excited to serve you and our customers and to make the system better and better each day. So we really appreciate you joining us tonight on this fabulous Wednesday evening. And we look forward to serving you in the future. So thank you again for your participation, and we look forward to seeing you on Fairfax Connector. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone. Here.